Okay, that should work. Okay, so everybody, welcome. This is our first kind of additional meeting for the whole community around governance, because we have seen that we have a lot of things to do. And as always, not enough time and not enough manpower to handle things. So we think it's important that we from now on meet minimum 2 times a week, to get more chances for people to have input, and also to make more and faster progress in the important topics. There have been some discussions in the last 1, 2 weeks around the scope, and also we talked about in our last meeting on Thursday about the scope of those meetings. We had a bridge front group which had over the last couple of months done a lot of tremendously good work for the Treasury DAO. But because some things have changed, this kind of now seems that we are all kind of merging back to be like one big group altogether. Um, and we also had a little poll in the governance channel going on, um, uh, because we have basically two pretty important and big things ahead of us. One would be creating a general governance framework for basically for Shimmer first, yeah, because Shimmer is ahead of us, and Shimmer will be the first network that offers um, the real chance of participation in parts of the network for the community through governance. And so there's a big task in designing a usable and flexible and good working and secure governance system for a general high-level protocol governance, which doesn't need indirectly to be the same governance as the Treasury DAO would use, because the Treasury DAO would very likely be more specific, but the Treasury DAO could be based on such a governance framework and could be actually designed and uh, decided on using such a governance framework. Yeah, so there's task, the big task one is getting the governance framework straight. And then secondary task would be getting the specific governance and the specific design and all the things around that are needed to have the community treasury ready. Yeah, and so the group came to a consensus in a poll to first of all focus in the next couple of weeks or in the next time mainly on the general governance framework, and get this straight and work on this, and not too much on the Treasury DAO. Um, but of course, this is not like an excluding thing. Still, I will be available, and we all kind of will be available to work on the Treasury DAO. And if people and members want to specifically say, okay, the Treasury DAO is more important for me now, we'll definitely also do this and keep this thing rolling. Um, and yeah, that's the first thing that we maybe should shortly clarify and talk about. And if everybody is okay with this, we would then focus on this meeting here on the governance framework.
Yeah.
Any ideas or any
Yeah.
mentions? Yeah.
Well, I know, and I think, the consensus of the poll was, should we combine efforts to do a governance framework, and which clearly the majority of people, but that isn't to negate that, anyone has the right to. So I think if we, I brought it up in the bridge fund, if we kind of moved those individuals that wanted to engage in the governance framework to Tuesday, so essentially the governance framework meetings, we have a Tuesday and a Thursday meeting. Um, and maybe even rather than dividing it between this action group and that action group, basically we just try to get it done. So try to complete tasks both Tuesday and Thursday bi-weekly,
Yeah.
get it done as quick as possible. I think that also allows for anyone that wants to work on treasury funds, whether that be Shimmer or IOTA framework. They still have Wednesday, and that time slot is open if anyone from the bridge fund wants to keep that up.
Mm.
I also think the legal framework is so complex, and I personally don't have the time to dive into that, but I know there's some really good specialists. So if people want
Yeah.
to, maybe that Wednesday meeting could, or Wednesday could be a day to tackle that, whether in Discord or have individual
Yes.
meetings. But at least for me personally, I support doing Tuesdays and Thursday Shimmer governance framework meetings, which as well, I think, like you said, once we get the governance framework set up, which I don't see it taking more than 2 to 12 weeks anywhere in there, how active we can be and come to consensus, but we can then actually test that framework by putting some of the more difficult decisions for the Shimmer Treasury. And then we got a lot of good stuff from the bridge fund that we can incorporate into the Shimmer Treasury and kind of work in the governance framework. And then we have a Treasury governance framework that we can essentially test, in which we'll need smart contracts. So maybe by that time we're looking, anywhere from 8 to who knows how many weeks down the road. But hopefully smart contracts are in play to the point that we could test some of those processes, which I actually wanted to ask you, Philo, just real quick
Mm.
to clarify, which to me was a big question that I kind of has. So the smart contracts for the treasuries, whether Shimmer or IOTA mainnet,
Yeah.
will those smart contracts be an assembly chain or an L1 chain?
They they don't need to necessarily be an assembly chain. So there, first of all, there are no level one chains. So level one, to keep it clear, level one will always be the Tangle. Level two are smart contract chains. They can be assembly, but they don't need to be assembly. Yeah. So we have the IOTA smart contracts protocol that basically enables smart contracts without the need of an assembly token. But then you will always have the smart contract chain validated and run by a set of trusted validators. So
Okay.
you will not have. So this is basically what Binance Chain and actually most of or Phantom and all the thing, they all have a set of validators, a fixed set of validators. Binance Chain has 12, Phantom has 42 or whatever, but they are fixed. And it's not like in Ethereum that every Ethereum node basically is a, or every Ethereum miner basically is a validator. Um, so
Right.
basically, we would have something like Binance Chain with a set of validators running that could be selected by a process. By most of important thing is that validators won't have to put proof of stake, so they wouldn't risk losing funds. So the only thing that they would risk is losing reputation. So basically, I think the highest reputation entity in our network is still the IOTA Foundation. So we could design smart contract chain that is um, that is secured by the IOTA Foundation, but cannot be completely controlled by the IOTA Foundation if we put some trusted community validators within the system. Yeah, and
And I
this,
guess that could be,
yeah,
uh, the validators that will be validating the Shimmer protocol, which I believe was essentially so far 12. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I was just curious about that because that to me would affect schedule. If either
yes,
we have to wait for
no,
assembly,
we don't,
or do
yeah,
we, as Stardust gets implemented, it sounds like it's going to do that kind of 12 validator setup. And, maybe through the governance, the Shimmer Treasury can decide that, hey, let's just use this because it's
yeah,
protected.
it's
And then
they
maybe when assembly comes out, they could do sub DAOs or whatever.
Yeah, and then the whole thing also then could transition to assembly into a permissionless Ethereum-like chain thing. Yeah, but that's yeah. And to come to your first point, I really support it. I think Tuesday and Thursday would be great to have 2 days for this framework, and then like you said, Wednesday could be still a great meeting time for the for specific treasury DAO things. And like you said, legal is a big thing. So I have it on the agenda also. I would basically like to put up a legal meeting next week around the treasury DAO because there are it takes time and there are some decisions to do and things like this. But I have this on the plate here.
Good.
Maybe
And
I'll. Yeah.
is anyone in the group against having Tuesdays and Thursdays with?
Well, are they gonna be like a continuation, or are they gonna build on top of each other, or are they doing two separate things, Tuesdays and Thursdays? Like,
No,
do the
I
people have to go to both?
think it's to me it would be a continuation. Meaning we just want to build this thing. So let's just make decisions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we're making decisions on tasks 2 days a week rather than 1 day a week to
Mm.
try to speed it up.
I would.
Should we use the same time? I think now it's 4 p.m. European summer time. Thursday was 3 p.m. Should we maybe use two more different time slots to allow more people to participate?
Yeah, Werner, I would definitely like to go Thursday for 5 o'clock, even if it's for me late, but doesn't matter. But I think 5 would be acceptable. Most people will be kind of coming home, and then maybe 5:30 we get a bunch of Europeans um, hopping in.
As
Yeah,
yeah, so 5 European summertime,
yeah, at
and
Thursday
then roll back
and
with daylight
yeah,
savings. Yeah.
and Tuesday we can do 4 or even 3 if it, but I think 4 would be good. Would be definitely better for even Asians and US. Um,
Hmm.
so we had Tuesday 4 p.m. and Thursday 5 p.m. European summertime would be cool, I think.
And right now it's 4:15 for you guys. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's basically where most of the people just start to come home. So it's like, yeah.
No, I think we should
Yeah.
do two different times to try to incorporate more of
Uh,
the global community if we can, for
yeah.
sure.
And from my side, the only thing I would maybe, of course, both meetings should be basically focused on work. But for me, like the Thursday meeting, from my from my wish would always be still something where there is more an information part about what has happened also to because I believe that we still have more people that hop in this Thursday call as an information thing to get a bit up to date and not that are not really deeply involved. So I will always use the Thursday meeting still a bit to give an overview of what's actually happening for people that are not deeply involved, but they want to have info. Because I know also people they watch the recordings and things like this. So I would just add always some general part in the beginning maybe of the meetings or something like this on the Thursday meeting.
Tuesday, action meeting, get stuff done. Thursday, recap and
Get more
try to
stuff
get stuff
done.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool. And
cool.
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I have, basically, this would be today's plan. First of all, we also had a second poll because something really cool happened. I always post normally the meeting protocols of our meetings also in the Slack. And in our last meeting, we talked about that we actually want to get more organized and task driven. And then Mariana did read the protocol and texted me and said, "Hey, wow, you want to get more task-driven and organized? That's actually is exactly our field of purpose in market adoption and project management." And so actually she offered to the community support from the IOTA Foundation Project Management to help this group get this quite big project off the ground with kind of a bit of a support of professional project management. And so basically, she offered me that Asa, which who she is project manager in IF since I don't know 2 years or something like this, would be available to support the community group in this thing in creating tasks list, in making meeting notes, in deciding on timelines and scopes and stuff like this, and bring some project management expertise into this whole thing as a support, not as kind of a project leader or something like this, just as being there for the community and helping to keep things organized. Yeah, and there she is. Asa, you want to say something?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Holger, for the intro. So, yeah, as Holger mentioned, we are coming just to support you a little bit with the tasks in this project, which I'm looking forward to a lot. So basically, we'll just make sure that the project progresses and see what we can do to facilitate that. So, yeah, I'm very happy to meet all of you and looking forward to getting to proceed.
Yeah. I think that's cool. I mean, Asa will hang out in the meetings and will be available for questions, and I think also facilitate some project management tools or yeah, whatever. Get documents organized and set up that help us all keeping track of what we have to do and what we have planned and what we have decided and things like this. I think that's actually pretty great. I hope everybody is happy with this. Yeah.
No, I think it's outstanding. And, I know I put up a lot of questions on the documents. I know a few other guys look like they put up questions, but it'd be great if hopefully by maybe next week, everyone can review that governance framework that you put up and add any questions. And then maybe Asa, and I know you've already started this, Philo, of getting those questions in a central file. And then maybe Asa can look at the sort of process and an overview of from start to finish of a governance, like how does a governance proposal come in, and then how does it get approved, and all of our questions. And if we can sort of break that down into steps and then hopefully get an idea, how many meetings it would take to come to consensus on these steps and at least get an agreement from a start to finish process, then we can get to that implementation. Because, I think I always like that because then it gives you an idea, but I think it'll take a little time to realize how the group works together and how quickly we can get through some of these discussion points. But yeah, they put in. But if everyone get their questions in now, then all we have to do is just go through those and knock them out.
Mhm.
Maybe we can maybe we can talk about like a rough timeline of things that we have to get done, like in a practical sense.
Mhm.
Like Deep Sea mentioned, we have to give notes on the governance document, and maybe have a conversation around that. But what other things do like roughly like in 2-3 months we should get done before Shimmer launches, and how many people that would involve and stuff like that?
Yeah, the question would be, of course, how many of you can offer time, like let's say consistently, because then we could really plan this a bit inside. Um, and we don't know basically. I mean, um, don't know if all of you have seen the doc already. I have shared it over the weekend. Basically, I've shared 2 or 3 docs over the weekend in the governance channel. And the governance framework is quite a large document. Yeah, so it has 22 pages and it's pretty sure to really read through it. It takes an hour to really get a first overview and then go into details. So like JD said, there are some discussion points going on. From my opinion, I would rather have a working governance framework in place once Shimmer launches than the perfect governance framework in place. I see it a bit difficult to start the network that offers governance input from the community without having a decision-making process defined. So yeah, I think the faster we can progress with the governance framework, the more input is coming from you guys on my suggestions there, and the better we can work through the meetings and in the channels to skip through all those points and come to some consensus or some suggestions how it should be, the better it will be. Yeah, and the faster we can implement it.
Do people think that we need the governance framework to vote on Cappy's proposal? And also, how are we going to reach a consensus on the framework itself? Are both the framework consensus and Cappy's proposal, is that gonna be a vote like on Firefly, like the build and burn?
Um, Let me say like this. So one thing is we have to always also have to see the IOTA Foundation in this whole thing. Um, Maybe you have seen that in the beginning of the document, I did put in some fields that are open for governance. Yeah, so we still have to see that Shimmer will start as a rather centralized network. From the technical side and also from the governance side. Yeah, so I've talked with all this in engineering, and it's pretty clear that engineering does not want the community to have decisions on the code of Shimmer, because Shimmer is there for engineering and for research to test and implement smart contracts and core decide. Yeah, so that's quite not the point where the community can come and say, but we want this factor to be set to this level or whatever, because would hinder engineering in making fast and good decisions in the network. But there are certain fields that the foundation is okay to give control to the community, and yeah, those should be defined in this framework. And then I think to implement it, it definitely needs a vote by, in the end, the Shimmer token holders or the Shimmer community, or however we want to define it. But yeah, this should be voted on and then accepted by the community, and then it can be put into place and start working on it.
I think the reason I'm asking is because I think people are having confusion about whether Cappy's proposal needs to reach consensus before the launch, or it can happen after the
Yeah.
Shimmer launch.
So
I think from what I've seen, all the weight is on that. At least it's certainly going to be voted on before the launch, for one, and that it needs to happen. If it's let's put it this way: if it's voted to increase the supply, it has to happen before the initial genesis. So, if we were to wait, if we were to build this governance structure, we'd be using Shimmer tokens. So then the genesis would already have occurred. You know,
yeah,
but at least that's what, from my view of the community, and I'm I'm not a fan for it, but I can understand the technical implications of having to, if that is what you have to do, create a new token, or having to not force, but give the exchanges an option to have to fork, just 4 weeks later. So, I mean, I can see why we have to do it. And,
yeah,
at least if it goes to a Firefly vote, it's still the community making that decision.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So basically,
Yeah, I think
we cannot. I think we will not be ready with this governance framework at the time it would need to be ready to be used in Cappy's proposal. This time has passed. Um,
but saying that, really, it's gone from phase one to phase two. So now phase two, there's clearly enough
Yeah, but it is not
demand
enough.
from this.
Let me say it like this. It is not enough time to have a vote then before Shimmer launches.
No, what I'm saying is, like,
wait. I'm getting confused. We should wait. DC,
let me just finish.
we
I'm just saying that
okay.
per Philo's governance framework, really the whole process of moving from phase 1 to 2 to 3 is how much interaction by the community. And yes, we need to judge some of those metrics and how do you approve from phase 1 to phase 2. But I think if this proposal came up, it would certainly make its way through the approval process from the mods and admons. We definitely see that there's certainly enough interaction within the community that they want this to go to a Firefly vote. Really, the only difference if we had this governance framework on the Shimmer network would be people would be voting with Shimmer tokens versus IOTA tokens. But as we've seen the statistics, it's like 90% of IOTA tokens have been minted to Shimmer tokens. So there really isn't too much of a difference there, because that 10% that wasn't was really the IOTA treasury, which they don't have tokens, and some exchanges that didn't stake, which they're not going to vote anyways. So if we look at the voting participation percentage, generally those whole people or individual persons have it's the same, you know what I mean? So really, the governance framework is very similar to what it will be. There's really no difference in a sense what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think practically we should, if we're gonna do the inflation, we should definitely do it before the genesis. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we don't want to deal with all the exchanges and all that stuff.
It can technically only be done before the otherwise we would have to do the same stuff like we did with Chrysalis migration. We would have
Yeah, please, let's
we
not
would
do
have
that.
you know, if we would have then ledger and all, it would be a big mess. And also it would be
Exactly.
let's look for the public image of the Shimmer network. So you launch the network and then like I don't know, 6 weeks later you say, oh, there now we have to make a big hard fork and everything has to be and all tokens need to be exchanged for new tokens, and that's like creating a lot of mess and slows down also the whole Shimmer network. So we will not, the IF will definitely not do this. Either the supply vote increase will be decided for before the launch, or it won't happen. Yeah, that's practically. Yeah.
So the voting on the proposal for Cappy's proposal, we should think of that as a separate timeline that's going to happen before the launch, then setting up the
Yeah.
governance framework for Shimmer.
Yeah. So basically,
100%.
we have
Totally different.
yeah, we have actually nothing to do here, or we are not really doing anything on the copy proposal thing. That's a separate thing that's happening now. I think if you have read Dom's comment now, we will observe it for 7 more days, and then it will be put up for a Firefly vote. Yeah. So if the support is still like this and the majority of people support Kapi's proposal, then basically in 1 week it will be put up, or a vote will be prepared.
Yeah, and I think if we start discussing that in these meetings, it's going to take away from the efficiency of finishing the governance framework. Personally, it's just a totally separate issue that's running on its own, which so I mean, I don't actually agree with the 20%, but if that vote goes through Firefly, I think the process has been fairly fair for the community as the best we can before the launch. And I think it's actually, especially when it comes to a Firefly vote, then to me, it's a community voting. So that I think at least come there rather than some IF decision, something centralized. But yeah, so if we get, any other questions out there? So if the launch, so now the launch isn't of Shimmer. I mean, I guess to try to, what Overclock was saying was really good of, timeline. Like, yes, I totally understand that it would be good to have this governance framework in place upon the launch. However, if have some slippage and we're 3 to 2 weeks behind the launch, I mean, is this devastation?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, but like that's not an issue. I mean, like I said, there is also not. I think I posted it also in the channel. There is also not potentially not the immediate need for specific governance decisions in the Shimmer network. So the Shimmer network will function without any community governance. Yeah, it's basically an upgraded fork of IOTA, and things will work and run. So there is not a pressing issue for the community to start making immediate decisions in the Shimmer network, especially not in the field that will be available. I just wanted to ask in the group if actually most of you had the chance to look in the document that I've shared and in the other one already, or should I give some general information to you about what we are actually talking about here when we talk about the governance framework? Should I explain a few things about it, or
Has anyone not read through it? Or not at least seen the link?
did you really all read it? I doubt.
Well, maybe let's talk about this. Like,
Mhm.
I think if we look at what are the goals that we want to achieve with this group, what is the end result? The end result is we want to build a governance framework for Shimmer, and then there can be essentially that can be completed in two ways. Either one, it's an extremely high quality, and when it goes live, there's no more changes whatsoever. Everything has been discussed down to the little dots of I's and T's, and it's a done deal. This, of course, is going to extend the schedule if we want the quality. Yet, there's certainly certain things that for sure need to be vetted before going live. But I think there are some things that we can do our best to come to consensus, but also understand that, hey, let's start testing this on the Shimmer network, and let's see how the process plays out, and then we can make adjustments. So kind of find that happy medium of lowering the quality a little bit, but getting it out, and then increasing that quality in a testing environment, which I think will probably give us. And for an example of that is like some of the percentages, like what percentage will push a phase 2 to phase 3, or what percentage is required to do an all stop, stuff like that. I mean, we could probably go back and forth for a couple weeks on that, but I think if we all focus on what's best to get it going, and then see, do those percentages work, do we need to tweak those percentages, etc. And again, I think probably Asa can go through some of those questions and categorize them. Like I feel like there's a lot of moderator admin questions, and to me, those are really important. Of how does a moderator get delegated? How long are they in position? How do they get out of position if someone's found to be a bad actor, or if the community feels a moderator is a bad actor, but the moderator and admins don't. I think some of those questions, which we're on like a centralized IF Discord server, it's all done centralized. Well, now we're in a decentralized environment, and we talked about that with the bridge fund of bad actor clause, and some of the members, which would in this case be like a moderator admin, is kind of like a community liaison. And if the community feels like some moderator is acting in a bad way, they can then voice that. That community liaison can bring that to the moderator and admin group, discuss it, have a solution, bring it back to the person in the community. If that community, hey, thanks guys, you worked it out, good. If they still feel like they have an issue, and I think it was Digital Soul did really good work on this kind of process, but if the community feels that their issue hasn't been resolved, they could then come to a channel on Discord and bring it straight to the community, or maybe there'd be a governance channel for some of these type of discussions. And then if there's sort of factual proof on that, at least in our model, we were looking at, well, okay, then the admins and moderators can then have sort of a private meeting, because it gets really in depth, but you don't want to take a rumor and hurt someone's reputation, but the community needs to be heard at the same time. So we could have a private discussion amongst moderators and admins and say, hey, the community liaison brought the solution back. They were still not happy. Is there anything we can do to solve this situation? And then the last step is sort of, that person may need to be removed, and then how can you do that in a way that protects their reputation, integrity, just a sensitive thing. So some of those things, I think, the more ones that we, at least me personally, and anyone else, let me know if it's not a big deal, but to try to get those in place before it kicks off. And then where some of the other ones are maybe, we do our best to come to a consensus, but then actually get it going to see how the process plays out. That all makes sense.
Maybe I can give some information on that already, because maybe I think because discourse is like the forum that we are using is also quite new, I think, for most of you. We are used to have Discord, and some of you surely use Telegram, but those forums are maybe, it's not such an, I mean, we have this forum since a long time. It's the original IOTA Cafe research forum that is used since many years from the foundation for discussions with our researchers. And basically, we just have taken this forum, this discourse forum that is hosted by the IOTA Foundation on a server run by the IOTA Foundation, and with IT and tech from the IF taking care of it. And we have rebranded it and made it open and available for all governance things. Because basically what we have to see is that I think I also posted in the chat, 90% of all DAOs out there in the DLT space and Web3 do all their important discussions and decisions, off-chain decisions, call it like this, or soft consensus in a discourse forum. It is definitely the by far go-to tool for this kind of decision-making processes, because it's actually excellent done. It is open source and it can be self-hosted, so it's not like, I mean, Discord is actually owned by Microsoft, so yeah, so Microsoft can decide to censor or shut down any Discord server anytime they want. But a Discord server is hosted by the project itself, so has nobody a chance to influence anything that is happening on the server, only the server owners. The server owners of our server are, of course, the IOTA Foundation, and the admins of this server are actually Antonio, myself, I think Mark, and I think one of our engineers. Yeah, so we are kind of the persons that have superpower in this forum. And what moderators would do there, so basically in the moment I think we don't have even moderators, but Discourse is great because you can extremely customize everything there. And so my idea in the forum, in the proposal, was that the whole category of governance will be basically controlled by moderators, but we also will give these moderators only rights in the governance. Yeah, so because we also have the research and all the things, and private channels of the IF, so the moderators will of course not have access to these channels, but they will have kind of full control in the governance category to approve new posts and do basic moderation in the governance category. Yeah? And of course, every admin in the forum has also these powers. Yeah, so Antonio and I will have definitely also the moderator rank, and we could do all actions in the governance category that admins are allowed to do in this thing. But basically, if the community finds a way to select, I don't know, maybe 3, 5, I don't think we need so much, because it's not like Discord server where we have 25,000 messages per day to check through. So maybe 2 or 3 people that are trusted by the community and that would have time and would be willing to take on this moderator job. they could be selected by the community. They would get the moderator rights from an admin in the forum, and then they would be responsible to check new proposals if they fulfill the conditions that are outlined in the framework. Yeah, and so basically they only will really have to check, okay, does a new post use the proposed template? Does it include this and this? Does it basically fit in one of the proposed categories that are open for governance? Yeah, so if there is a proposal coming in, change the Hornet setup to XY, then the moderator would just not approve this proposal because it is not one of the fields that are actually open for community governance, and he would just reject it. Yeah? Or if there's like obvious spam proposals like, okay, give all tokens to Thomas QV, basically, actually, this would be a question. It could be allowed for a discussion because it would be a governance decision if it's tokens from the treasury. Let's say it like this. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's where the guiding principles come into play. Of course, cater to the governments, and yeah, part of that guiding principles may be some way to state, is this a technical code related proposal that may need to be submitted to the tips channel rather than the governance DAO, and again, looking at kind of just our experience with the bridge fund is like, because really what's going to happen is someone's going to submit something, and if it gets rejected, they're going to say, well, why is it rejected? And if we say, well, I mean, come on, this isn't good for the IOTA, ecosystem and Shimmer ecosystem to create a, drug cartel or whatever that's illegal, but it's definitely works out easier when there's an approved, when we vote on the Shimmer network, we say, hey, these are the guiding principles that basically phase 1 to phase 2 and phase 2 to phase 3 proposals are, does it support the Shimmer IOTA assembly ecosystem in a positive manner? And if it doesn't, then unfortunately, this isn't the DAO to submit that. You know what I mean? That's going to be for another DAO somewhere totally else, but not here.
I would be. We have to be a bit careful to not mix up treasury guiding principles and general governance. I mean, I can maybe just read because we have just a few points. So basically, all proposals get rejected if they are not fitting in one of these, in the moment, 6 definitions. So I have it here in the doc, yeah? Parameters that are open for community governance in Shimmer selected by the IOTA Foundation. We, as IOTA Foundation, decide what points of governance are allowed for the community in the moment. And we will, of course, step by step implement more of these points the more we decentralize the network, are the following. Installment and changes to the network inflation distribution scheme towards network participants. So basically, how will tokens that come from inflation be distributed to the participants in the network? Second point would be installment and changes to protocol parameters as defined by the protocol specifications, or where possible to change, such as potential incentive models for network participants. Also for this, there will be very likely a tip from the IF where exactly is specified which protocol parameters this would be. Community-wide definition of standards, like we have token, NFT, naming conventions. We think about having something like a token registry and all this stuff. So this would be things that the community can decide. Installment and changes to the used governance processes. So basically changes to the governance framework. Spending of assets of a treasury wallet, of the treasury DAO, and installment and structure of governance processes used in a potential treasury DAO. That's it. Anything else that people propose will be directly rejected from the moderators because it is not a field that is allowed for governance currently. So
What page was that on?
it's directly on the first. It's in part 3 in the beginning. Part 3 motivation. So there is
It's like
the
on page 5. Page
It's on,
5.
yeah, page 5. Yeah. So there are the parameters, and that's it. Nothing more will be open for governance, and nothing more will be decided with this framework when Shimmer launches or once the framework is open, maybe or implemented.
Hey, Fowler, can I ask you a question about does IF have a philosophy or a kind of like mindset on how they're going to approach participating with the governance of Shimmer?
You mean how they themselves are?
Yeah, like will they be making proposals or lobbying or supporting proposals that they like? Like, are you guys going to be more hands off, or are you guys going to be active participants?
I think the IF mostly will will put themselves still in a neutral position, but I think we will definitely say if we like things or if we don't like things. Yeah, so I think but I mean, this is the board. Yeah, Dom and every IF member is free to issue personal, and I mean, Dom's opinion is mostly the opinion of the foundation itself, but yeah, I think the IF will also propose sometimes things if they think it is needed, because definitely in these fields the IF will then also guarantee that it's not making decisions on its own anymore. Yeah, so if those fields that are stated here are decided to be open for governance, then also the IOTA Foundation, of course, will obey to these rules and will not do any changes to this without community consent and without following the process and having a vote on these things. Yeah. And
So question.
Just,
So
I just
I'm looking.
thought, just to
Go ahead.
follow up on that, I thought it would be interesting if once Shimmer launches and there's a governance framework, if on this server there would be maybe a meeting like once a week where people can debate the pros and cons of their proposals, and it would be, moderated by a third party or something, you know,
yeah, that would be cool actually. That's
like a town hall kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah, yeah.
mean?
Yeah. A governance town hall. Many DAOs do this actually. Yeah. So many DAOs have this kind of as a community town hall, community meeting, focusing on governance, on proposals. Um, Depending how busy this will be, if it will need once a week or every 2 weeks or whatever, or whenever there is a important proposal and the community wants to talk about it, and because then also the proposer, of course, will have the chance to reason for the proposal, to needs to answer questions by the community. We were definitely open to this idea, and we will definitely make this possible if the community wants to have something like this. Easy, we can set it up here in Discord or wherever, and make it a regularly thing for governance, to talk about all the things. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, it'd be great to have as everything transitions and takes off.
Yes.
Question, Milo, in this, so in these
Mhm.
bullet points, it says installment and changes of the network inflation distribution scheme towards network participants, when and how much and whom. Okay, so what this is saying is that only the IOTA Foundation can decide on that. That's not stating the amount of inflation though, right? Just as where and who gets that.
Yeah. This is at the moment, like I said,
So,
we will
so
we
hold
will
on. So
this yeah
let's just
this
say we had
yeah
8% inflation,
yeah.
and then someone wanted to put a proposal to say, hey, I think 2% should be allocated to the Shimmer Treasury on a yearly basis.
Mhm.
Where would that proposal be submitted?
In the moment, not yet, because in this framework only talks about things that are already technically possible. Yeah. Um, as soon as we have inflation live in the network, it will be a decision on the inflation rate will be put into these points. But we don't want to have things in this framework that are not yet technically defined, because otherwise the community could propose something that would need a lot of engineering resources and a lot of would maybe potentially take a lot of time to implement. Yeah. So if we would say now, okay, the community can decide if we use mana 1 or mana 5. And the community decides for mana 5, but both things are not yet 100% defined and engineering sidely finished. This would put us in a difficult decision that the IOTA Foundation would need to allocate a lot of resources into one direction. Yeah. So once we have technical things ready, they will be added to this thing.
And I totally understand that because, yes, the Shimmer network is a test bed for modules that will be used on the mainnet. So that should all be IF technical and dealt with their tips submittal type process. Like they already have essentially a governance process through the tip submittal process
Yeah.
in place, you know.
Yeah.
But looking at this, like spending of assets held in Treasury Wallet and installment and structure of governance processes used in potential community treasury DAO. I mean, I guess I assume that we're essentially building the governance framework that will be used to build the governance process of the treasury. And I guess to me personally, since the Shimmer network is quote unquote for the community, and let me say in this treasury that in those two bullet points, I see it as the community Shimmer treasury, not the IF treasury, Shimmer treasury.
Absolutely.
But the community Shimmer treasury, to me, the governance framework should at least be built through the government's framework that we're building now, and that really nothing should be spent from that treasury wallet until the governance treasury is in place. Like to me, what it's saying is the IF can just start spending out of the community treasury wallet. Am I misreading that? Is
I
that
think,
incorrect?
yeah, you are very misreading this because here it says it can only be if there would be a treasury wallet, a community treasury wallet, but not yet a treasury wallet, a treasury framework in place. Spendings out of this wallet can only happen following the process that is proposed here. So not the IF can spend, but if the community decides to spend something out of this treasury wallet, then and the community votes for it, then it could happen. Yeah, but basically this is not meant for anything happening before the DAO. Yeah, so definitely that's not. Those things here can only so actually nothing can happen, but the things that I described here can happen if the community follows the process, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, Firefly vote, voting by the whole community, bang, then things can be changed that are stated here.
So let's
Wait, I'm confused. You guys are talking about the the community treasury DAO for Shimmer, right? So so even if we so even that framework will have to go through the same governance framework, this consensus process. Is that correct? Is that what you guys are saying?
That is the proposal here, yes.
So basically, we'll use the governance framework. We're building the governance framework to allow the community to decide on how to then build the Shimmer community treasury governance structure, how proposals come in, how they get approved, how funding gets in place, how milestones get managed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we would go to funding. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think he's saying that it's the same process. The governance framework
It does
is the
no.
process.
It
No,
doesn't.
it's
No, no.
not.
It doesn't need. It can. I mean, you have to keep it open. If the community would want it, of course you can use this, but you can also use this thing to decide on a completely different framework for the treasury. Yeah. So, like I said,
Well,
if
I mean, that just kind of complicates things because
No, I think the reason why JD is asking that
Mhm.
is because of this point in the governance framework document, spending of assets held in the treasury wallet of a potential community treasury
potential,
DAO.
yeah, of a potential. This actually, I mean, we can change this wording, but for me, my intention was just to say, okay, if there would be a potentially community treasury DAO, then um, assets out of this main treasury wallet would need to go through this process. If, let's say, as like a status quo, if the community wants something different, then they of course can use this framework to design something different, how stuff can be spent out of this, and then it can be changed in this document. Yeah.
I guess to me then, if we're not building a governance framework for decision making, we're building a governance framework that will handle eventually funds. And if that's the case, that changes everything, in my opinion, because someone could put a proposal then to say, I want to fund some Israeli political party. And it's like, well, I don't know. I guess me personally, in my mind, this funding should be for the IOTA ecosystem. It shouldn't be for political purposes,
Yeah.
religious purposes, or anything like that. But then there's nothing.
Okay,
And
okay,
then
okay.
it's like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
just saying,
absolutely get it. I absolutely get it.
yeah,
Let's take
I'm
this
just saying
point
it
out.
becomes so
Let's,
much more
yeah,
complicated when
let's
you
take
deal
it
with
out.
funds. Yeah.
I'm really, if there is some potential misunderstandings in this wording, we should definitely just take it out because um, you're right. If it could be understood that somebody could put up a proposal to say, okay, spend whatever amount of funds from the Shimmer Treasury into something, and this is definitely
And
not the
it could
intention.
very,
Yeah.
someone could put in a proposal that says, give the entire treasury fund to the IF. And maybe the community would vote on it. But I think prior to doing that, some questions, prior to even getting to that step,
Yes. Yes.
there should be questions amongst the people that build this governance structure to say, should a treasury governance structure allow for spending 100% of the funds at any time?
Yeah.
Now me personally, I would suggest, why don't we do like 10% a year, 20% a year, some percentage per year, so we just don't deplete the fund in year one.
Mhm.
And then the other aspect we've talked about in the bridge fund is like, again, I use the EDF, a tried and true system. Yes, it's complicated with the German regulations, but the process, from what I've heard and seen with the milestone payments, is very good. Where a project gets funding, do you give them 100% on day one and then they flop, or they're a scam, especially for the scam to mitigate risk, scam risk, or do you have them submit a proposal of milestones and deliverables at each milestone? So milestone one completely, they get the money for milestone one, they come up back with deliverables, and then we have to have some sort of delegates, admin, moderators, community, whatever,
Yep.
say, yeah, absolutely, you've reached milestone one. Here's milestone two payment. It gets really complicated when you start going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we've
and
done a lot of that in the bridge fund. But if we want to get this governance framework in place in 2 to 8 weeks,
no, this has
and
nothing.
we want it to
This
be
has
able to
no
manage
this. Yeah,
money,
this has no place in this governance framework. Yeah, so this is really so the treasury framework is a completely different thing, and it should not be part of this document. Yeah.
so what I'm
Yeah.
getting at,
So wait, JD. Before, when in the beginning when you were talking about the scheduling, weren't you saying the Wednesday time slot should be for the Treasury DAO?
no, I'm
Weren't
saying,
you recommending that?
no, what I was saying is, in that vote, there was people that did seem to want to continue working on Treasury aspects, though the consensus of this group was let's knock out the Shimmer governance framework. So this Treasury governance mainnet group, which has several people, I think voted to, hey, Tuesdays and Thursdays, let's build this Shimmer governance framework so then we can get on to building the Treasury. However, there was still people that want to work on the Treasury, and I'm just saying if we do Tuesdays and Thursdays, it still allows Wednesdays for anyone to work on that, to work on the legal framework. I mean, there's a lot of work to do. That doesn't mean to me that this main Treasury governance or just governance group is involved or approving that stuff. I guess to me, I look at this. This particular group here right now that meets on Thursdays was originally started to build a Treasury governance framework for the mainnet. And then Shimmer came and, now we're looking at community Shimmer governance. But to me, this is the original group that says, hey, I want to get involved in building the community governance around DAOs. Let's just say DAOs. So this group has said, hey, let's focus on Shimmer governance framework, and then let's use that Shimmer governance framework to then build the Treasury. But if someone else in the community wants to form their own group and get active, I mean, there's no stopping them, right? Because it's community run. So, I was just trying to include everyone and offer Wednesday. I'm not saying I'm not going to participate in Wednesday personally.
I'm
don't
just
have enough
confused.
time.
Wait, I'm just confused. I thought we were working on the governance framework off this document that Philo created. And then I
Yeah.
thought the Treasury DAO was going to work off the Treasury DAO framework off the bridge fund document that we were working on. Is that wrong? I'm confused.
Oh, look, to me, this group would have to, this is the original group that's going to build the Treasury DAOs. So they would have to approve that. Like even the bridge fund, when we talked about that, said, hey, we're going to go off. We came
That's
to
right. Okay, right.
Thursday meeting. We're going to go off. We're going to build an idea, and then we're going to
So
come
then
back.
why don't we then why don't we do that? Then why don't we meet next week on Wednesday
Look,
and then discuss how to proceed with the Shimmer Treasury DAO, whether we're and then
We're gonna
have
do this.
people.
We're gonna do this over
Right,
club.
right.
now, hold on, and we need to be clear about this because now you're going back to a vote that's taken place and trying to redo the vote, which can happen. I'm just saying if we want forward progress on a weekly basis, when we do a vote in this group on certain decisions that are split down the middle, we need to accept that vote and move on, whether it's against, whether we like it or not, really. That's the only way. But if we keep going back, now, I brought that vote up because to me, if we included 3 meetings a week, Philo also put up a vote of said, what inhibits people from getting involved in the governance structure, the governance meetings? And the number one result was lack of time. So if we know people have lack of time, we know we kind of struggle with people participation. We're then adding a third meeting on top of that and fragmenting, where I look at it as how can we get to the end goal closest? How can we get to a governance framework and then a Shimmer Treasury governance framework and then a mainnet governance framework? And the way I see it is if we get the governance framework done, active, boom, then which really could be in the next 2 to 12 weeks, probably 6 to 8, then we convert all our efforts 2 times a week into building the Shimmer Treasury, which really the Shimmer Treasury is the test bed for the IOTA mainnet treasury, right? Because everything's going to be tested on the Shimmer network. So even though we're building the Shimmer treasury, we're really building the mainnet treasury. But again, I think just we have to understand, at least I look at it, I'm not trying to talk for anyone else, but that Thursday meeting group, to me, that was the community that wanted to participate and be involved with making decisions on DAOs, community DAOs, let's say. So again, but I mean, in that vote, there was an option that said, should we tackle the Shimmer Treasury and the governance framework at the same time? People voted to do the governance framework. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think Philo I think is
I
right when he says the Thursday meeting should be about just informing people, right? Because that's gonna be a pretty large group, right? So then Tuesday is gonna be the people who are more committed to actually being involved and participating in, figuring out how to finish this framework, right? But weren't you guys saying on Wednesday we could have like
we
slot that in for like the legal framework and stuff? And that's
we
isn't that
we
all
could
kind of
we
related
can
to the
have
treasury?
definitely. So like I mean I'm always there. And I'm always gonna try to proceed in because I mean yeah, take me out of the account. I have much more time than all of you. Yeah, I spend every day 6 to 8 hours working on all those governance things. Yeah, so for me, I always will also try to get some kind of progress in the treasury questions, especially the legal stuff. Yeah, so because this is one of the first important things, we have to get arrange some lawyers. We have to set up a meeting with lawyers that would be available and things like this and this. And whoever wants to participate in this is, from my side, always invited. And if we want to have a specific meeting on that, let's do it Wednesdays. Um, and but JD is really right. I think also the quicker we get this governance framework nailed down and solidated, um, because then we have a tool in our hands. Because we always want to, I mean, like we do this since a year, and we always envisioned that, okay, once we have a vote for the treasury, we will start to ask. So we will prepare some things, and then we will ask the community on the big bullet points. Yeah, so the big decisions. Yeah, like 5, 6 votes by the community, where we kind of present, okay, we are on a crossroads. We can go in this direction with the treasury or in this direction. But for the community to make decisions, then we would it would be great to have this governance framework in place, because then we can just follow a defined process. We propose an idea, the community can discuss it, the community can do a poll. If the poll says, okay, that looks like people are interested in, we make a big governance vote in the Firefly, and then bang, this would be milestone one treasury decided by the community. Yeah, and so for this, yeah,
In your mind, do you see like a general, like a timeline or schedule for the community treasury DAO, or do you think that's more lax? Like we can kind of, so like you're saying, set up the Shimmer network with the governance, and that could be like later on. There,
y-
there's
I-
no rush to do that in your mind.
there is. I mean, we have to if we have a vote that decides on a Shimmer treasury following Kapi's proposal, then um, it would make sense to not wait too long, because Shimmer Treasury could go live once the Shimmer EVM goes live, which is definitely earlier than the Treasury. I can't give you timelines, but
Right,
uh,
right.
yeah, I think it would make sense, especially like legal stuff, to start to have this in parallel going on, because it can be really tiresome and take a long time to prepare and prepare legal opinions on some things. Um, this would be something definitely that I would try to keep going, because it takes time, it costs money, and all these things, and it is also something that is very difficult for most people to follow. So we will not have
So,
huge
so, so
participation in these things, I think. Yeah.
right. So the reason why I think this is coming up is because, and and this is what I don't want to put words in JD's mouth, but from from me looking at the governance framework document and the stuff that we worked on in the bridge fund, it seems like two completely different kind of mindset and uh, like problems,
Mhm.
problem tackling. It's like two different kind of documents,
Yeah,
you know?
it is, I think. I see
I
it.
would,
I
I
see
would
it similar. Yeah.
say, I would just say before if we vote for 20%, fine, for a Shimmer Treasury. But I would at least propose a vote, and I would do anything I can to get as much community to at least accept that vote to go to a proper Firefly Phase 3 vote, that we don't spend funds until a Treasury governance is in place that was built by the community. I don't think the governance
Absolutely.
framework should be used for spending funds. The thing is,
Absolutely.
if we at least, maybe we could do, let's do a vote in the channel. Actually, why don't please, if you could, or
Mhm.
I'll try to write it up after this to do a vote, because I'd just like to again focus our energy to separate. Hey, this first, then Shimmer Treasury governance, and no money should be spent out of any Shimmer Treasury until there's actual community built governance in place. I mean, that's almost like saying, hey, we voted build, let's just fucking let IF or anyone do a vote on governance and start spending money with
Yeah.
no boundaries or
No,
parameters.
no.
But maybe I'll write that up for a vote afterwards. But what I wanted to touch base on overclock. Hey, by all means, start that Wednesday meeting. Like, I just, again, if we have a Tuesday and Thursday meeting that are focused on governance framework to knock that out, if we really do want to knock it out quickly, we need to devote 2 meetings a week just talking about governance framework. If we talk about anything else, Cappy's proposal, when does courticide happen? When do we send money to Greg? Like for his church, the Church of Greg or whatever we were talking about that week. That was just a joke, guys, an inside joke. But like if we at least for those 2 meetings, personally, I think if we just focus on getting the governance framework decisions done, then boom, after that, whatever anyone else, such as if you start meetings on Wednesday, what we've done in the bridge fund, we bring all that in and then start incorporating that into the next evolution, which is building the Shimmer Treasury. And I mean, a lot of that work we did is good. And I think if you guys want to meet on Wednesday and figure out the legal framework, shit, by the time that gets all done, we'll probably have the governance framework in place and can bounce right into that. And then, for an example, like I assume, I'm just making an assumption here, probably a contentious discussion will be should we allow, should there be a cap on how much you can spend per year? People are probably going to have different ideas about that. Some may want a lower percentage. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Let me just finish. Let me just finish. What I'm saying as an example is when the group has different ideas, we now get to test the governance framework. We get to just run that process as a test, which I think is going to be great because now we're going to be testing it in real life and getting those metrics of how much community involvement, what percentage, and we need that data to see, hey, when we need a minimum quorum, our theory in mind might be 5% or 10%. Does that suffice? Or is that too weak? And then someone based on a minimum quorum can put through a proposal that isn't necessarily the community consensus. So I guess that's the way I look at it. Does that make sense? But go ahead. You can definitely do the Wednesday meeting on your own.
Hey, JD, hey, JD, just to make it clear for everybody here right now, you're saying that if Cappy's proposal goes through and there's 10% peg for the community treasury, that none of that should be spent until a community treasury DAO is set up. Was that your point?
Yeah. I mean, I
Absolutely.
think
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think that until we have a process where someone can submit a proposal, it's reviewed by the community. Now, that may be that the community has delegated admins, whatever, and it gets to a community vote. And that proposal then gets funding and how it gets funding and through what type of smart contracts and through what type of legal entities and how the milestones are going to be and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How the proposal template's going to be written up. Until all those are in place, I don't see why it should just
Absolutely.
go carte
Yeah.
blanche and start,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the community treasury DAO, that money should not be spent until community treasury DAO is set up, and it should not be allowed for the governance
Yeah.
DAO the framework we're setting up now. They should not be able to make a proposal to spend that.
Yeah.
That's your.
Yeah.
Correct.
Fully agree on that. But also, I mean, this is the same thing that we decided or we talked about. I mean, with the IOTA treasury is a little bit different because we would have anyway to make this network upgrade. What would happen with the Shimmer treasury potentially is I mean that the only because the tokens will need to be created and then the tokens will need to be held by the IOTA Foundation on behalf of the community. Yeah, and so we can clearly state that the IOTA Foundation will not use or release or any of these funds to anything, or there will even not be a vote possible to, like you said, spend 10% of the Shimmer treasury that is owned by the community to blah blah blah, before not the full DAO is set up, is created, and has been decided by the Shimmer token holders to say, okay, this is the DAO that we want to be our treasury DAO with all the principles, with all the metrics, with all the proposal templates, with all the definitions in place. And then the IOTA, the EDF or the IOTA Foundation or whoever of us will will hold the Shimmer tokens in custody. Only then the tokens will be released into the hands of the treasury DAO, which has been set up then. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, just looking at the time, everyone. I know this meeting was specifically for if we want to involve ASA, which looks like people did. I just want to put to anyone in this meeting, does anyone think that's not a good idea? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay. So ASA's there to help us.
ASA is in.
I'm,
Yes.
Thank
yeah,
you
no.
for the welcome.
Just wanted to confirm that and see if anyone had any didn't want that, but it seems like we have a community consensus. We're definitely welcome your help, and it's awesome. And then I'm wondering, unless someone thinks this isn't a good idea, if Asa, maybe if you review the questions that spreadsheet that Philo put together, as well as review the framework, and maybe then on tomorrow, I don't know if that's enough time or not, or next week, maybe you can give us an idea how you think best we could efficiently complete this in a timely manner and maintain quality. Is that something you think you can help us with to structure kind of how to get through this?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, Sorry, was someone else saying something?
No, that's an echo of you.
Okay, sorry. No, yeah, definitely. That sounds very good. So I've been looking through this document, and then I think that's a very good suggestion. If everyone else agrees as well, that I can start looking through the document and maybe also categorize the questions as someone also suggested, like which ones are relating to moderator, for example. And then, yeah, I would be happy to come up with a suggestion to review with all of you of like maybe time plan and what would be the steps we need to take, who needs to be involved, how much time do we think we need.
Great.
Sounds like a plan.
And I bet if you felt it was needed, I'm sure there's people in here that can sort of build action teams, one-on-one or two or groups of 3 that, sometimes it's nice when people work together and build something and then come present it in a team and the group discusses it, rather than trying to build it in this, voice discussion. So we found that worked pretty good in our other meetings too.
Yeah.
Again, having that breakdown of who, what needs to be worked on and who wants to work. Then another thing I quite liked that we were doing was Linus was writing sort of summaries of like our meetings, and then particularly like what was confirmed, what was discussed and needs continuing discussion. And I know Linus, would you want to do that? Or I know you're pretty busy. Is that something that you'd want to maybe hand over to Asa if she can do that?
I mean, I can still do it. It's interesting to listen to everything anyway, keep being up to date, and can also do these little protocols.
Okay.
Let's see. You were talking about 2 meetings a week. I mean, maybe we can also split it up between the 2 of us. Like,
Yeah, sure.
I mean, and
So let's maybe.
I'm also always there. Yeah, I'm also gonna take notes. So
Okay.
don't. Yeah, yeah.
So Linus, would you want to do the Tuesday meeting, which we were talking about? Was it 5 o'clock GMT time?
Tuesday 4.
No, yeah, Tuesday was
Uh,
4 or 3, not 5.
Yeah, this fits well.
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
maybe we
and
should set that once more. So
we
write
confirm that
the
in
timings in governance announcement
Yes,
and
yes,
let
yes,
everyone and
yes, yes.
so just
Okay.
I think we now had at Tuesday at 3. So like it was on
3
Thursday.
or 4. I
4,
don't.
4.
I think
Tuesday.
Philo said 4,
Yeah,
so 4.
Tuesday
Four.
4 o'clock and Thursday 5 o'clock.
Okay, so we got that
All right.
down.
What's with Wednesday now?
Wednesday
Uh,
is open, so we can do it 3 or 4, not 5.
Well, Wednesday. Well,
We've been
What
doing it at 4 on Wednesday.
what if
Keep-
you guys and yeah, maybe we could talk about that tomorrow of like how we can work the channels. What if you guys overclock bring that up in the don't we have a legal channel, legal framework?
yeah,
Or I guess we got
yeah,
a
yeah.
treasury.
But is it gonna be just focused on legal? Why can't
No,
why
it's
can't
a
it be?
no. It can
No.
it can
Whatever you
be.
guys want.
Yeah, it can be all around the treasury DAO. Yeah, so legal is a
All right.
part in the moment, but it's a general treasury. I mean, also, yeah, we like I said, we shouldn't completely forget the treasury. Prepare things. Start also. I mean, there's so many tasks around the treasury to
Okay.
do. So
Okay.
yeah,
There's
Wednesday. Yeah.
there's a community treasury channel. I just put a link in the governance channel. So maybe overclock, if you jump in there and then put a shout out of a time, which probably be the same time as the bridge fund, if that works for you guys, and then you guys can start kicking that off.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that okay? Do you see that link?
Wait, you want me to kick it off?
No
You
worries.
want to get you want to do it?
I can.
Wait, when
So,
I'll
this is
support you
Andy.
guys. Hi, Andy.
Philo will help you. Philo
I
will
would
help
like
you.
to put something in there.
Happy
If we can
birthday,
stop
Andy.
if we can stop the 7 a.m. meetings, I think that would help my marital life. Uh, is there a way that we could do it just an hour later?
What is 7
No,
a.m.
we
for
wouldn't.
you? What is 7 a.m. for you? It's now 7
Well,
a.m. or
No, it's
no,
now
it's
8:30 for me.
Yeah,
so
so wait,
four.
Andy, when were we having the original bridge fund meeting? Was that 7 a.m. for you?
Yeah, that was 7 a.m. for me.
yeah?
So
So tomorrow
when we say 4 p.m., is that GMT or UTC? What is that? Does 4 p.m.
is
7
that we're
a.m.
saying?
Hold on, guys. 7 a.m. to him is 4 GMT to
yeah.
Andy. So we did 4 GMT today. That's what the Bridge Fund is doing. But also, Andy, and I'm not sure which kind of group you're focusing on, but Thursdays is going to be 5 GMT. So that's going to be 8
8.
a.m. your
Not GMT, but CEST, Central European Summertime.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Andy definitely
Like,
tomorrow is 1 hour later than today. So Thursday is 1 hour later. So if that fits for you, then Thursday will be 8 for your time.
Yeah,
And I love time
first.
zones.
Uh, so we meet again in 23 hours and 30 minutes.
Sounds good.
Exactly.
so I just want to, oh no. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's good. So we'll have Asa. Oh, Asa, tomorrow, do you think you can come up with that, or do you think next week would be better?
I think. Go on.
Sorry. No, sorry, please go.
I just want to say that people probably prepared for 3
No, I will.
for tomorrow. So
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't know
will.
if we should change that now, right now,
No,
less than
we
24 hours
I've
ahead.
I've already informed kind of. I posted this already in the German Telegram group and things like. So I think I changed the event from our bot already. So and
Okay, when you already.
and I'll put it out on Twitter today, and the IF can retweet it, and then normally it should reach hopefully quite some people.
Yeah, maybe also an at governance tag once more.
Yeah.
just to inform, because I dubbed everybody notices this without a ping.
No. I'll always pin. Okay. I'll always ping at governance for all those things.
All right.
Yeah.
Then
Okay.
tomorrow at 5. Yeah.
So
Yeah, perfect. Yes, yeah, I can definitely try to have this like a suggested list with steps and a timeline done for tomorrow.
awesome. You are great. Cool. Thank you. Okay.
Well, we don't know yet.
Asa, we can have a chat tomorrow about that. I can help.
Yeah, sure. I can like start working on it maybe and then just like review with you before we
Yeah,
communicate.
cool.
And then Linus will do Tuesday's summary notes, and then I can do Thursday's summary notes, and Philo can help both of us. And I think what's important in those notes from the group perspective, if the group sees anyone summarizing the notes that forgot something or are communicating it incorrectly, that's a great time to speak up and say, well, I kind of understood it at this way, so that we're all on the same page. And then if we ever have any questions of, hey, did this get confirmed or did that get confirmed, we then can go back to those weekly notes, and as well as watch the videos. Just watching the videos takes a heck of a lot longer. So but yeah, it's good to get everyone involved. This is exciting to get this done as a community. So cool.
I would also be happy to help with the notes. I mean, if like someone isn't available, or I mean, for anything, I would also be happy to take the notes during the meetings.
Thank you so much.
Yep, that would be cool actually. Yeah. So we can see tomorrow. We can nail this a little bit more down and define it a little bit more. What I would hope from most of you that you find a bit time to look into the document. Yeah, that was kind of my suggestion. And JD left extremely valuable notes in the doc. So if you look into the commentaries, I think mostly these are the important points that we have to talk about. I think some things are pretty clear and easy, straightforward, and I hope on those we can easily agree. But the things that JD highlighted there, this will be the major points for us to discuss. Or if somebody of you also finds other points there and says, "Ooh, that's like sounds really strange. Let's talk about that if we might change that." So just comment in the document. We have this second, the Google Sheet, where we actually collect the open questions with the link to the document section, and then we have this a little bit more, because the document is always difficult to figure out things. So I started already to put JD's question in this document with open questions, and there we can keep track of which points are open to discuss, and what did we decide or did not decide or need clarifying on things. And so if Asa can structure this a bit, I think this will be really helpful for everybody to also stay on track what is kind of important for us and where do we need to look into, and makes it easier for everybody to read up the specific sections then and form an opinion on some of those points. And it would be great if we can use then the meetings to also come, when we are ready, come to some of the decisions that, okay, we should do it like this or we should do it like that, and we kind of vote on how to do it and implement it then in the document, in the framework document. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Perfect. So if there are there open questions from anybody? Does anybody has unclarities or suggestions? Nope. Sounds good. Okay, so then let's meet tomorrow again at 5 p.m. CEST or 8 a.m. for Andy. And just continue the good work. I think this was super productive and excellent meeting. I mean, we had to clarify some things because maybe we should think about completely different names for this whole thing because we call everything governance framework and governance DAO, and maybe we call it Project X and Project Y or whatever. I don't know.
That's not a bad idea. I'm always confused on what is a government, what is a treasury, what is a
Yeah, and
DAO call and stuff like
yeah, and
that.
the difficult thing is we also have to see that there are people that are not attending these meetings and think about DAOs the last 10 months. We always have to think about how these meetings will sound and look for them. And my intention will always be to get more also new people involved in the process because the more people we can catch with these topics and make it interesting for them, the better once it comes to decisions, our outreach will be to really get consensus of the whole community and get participation in the votes. Um, this is always my intention to have this kind of easier, still easy approachable, even if it's super complex topics. But yeah, that will be also my focus a bit. I'm also pretty active in the try to be pretty active in the community channels and in several community discords where I kind of explain and do some write-ups and things like this and are available to introduce what these groups doing to the broader community that in the end will need to make the hard decisions. So.
Yeah,
All
whenever you
right.
put it, whenever you put it on Twitter,
Yeah.
it'd be really good for us as community members to help kind of propel that, because I know that there's been a lot of people, at least from Hedera Hashgraph, who have been kind of reaching out to me.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh, we speak DAG," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the more we can bring in those type of community members just to come and take a look, I think the better we would be. So
Cool.
whenever somebody sees something from Philo, retweet it. It won't hurt your brand value. Don't worry.
Yeah, just the governance stuff. I also retweet sometimes. Whatever. You can. It's Twitter. You can do what you like. Okay. Let's continue tomorrow. Huh? This was really productive, and I wish you all an happy morning or afternoon or night or overclock. It's really late for you now, but like that's the life of a crypto degen. Yeah. So.
You're living the same schedule, right? Right,
Yeah,
Philo?
I'm still an hour earlier than you.
Oh, that's right.
Alrighty. Okay, guys, guys and girls, and thanks Asa for supporting the group here. I think this will bring a lot of value and organization into the chaos. And yeah, see you tomorrow, everybody.
All right. See you.
See you.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.